What we do is just support people in their own choices. So for the Transition Society, it's all about self-determination and supporting you in what you've determined you want to do. Sometimes we can't support things that we think are unsafe or are going to cause harm, of course, but it's all about self-determination and supporting that person to get to where they see themselves being. And that goes for all of our programs.
We're here at the Connect Center with Heather. Care to introduce yourself?
I'm Heather from the Transition Society, and I'm the Executive Director for the past 17 years. It's been a long time with a lot of changes. It started in 1987 as a network of safe homes for women and their children who were fleeing violent situations. And so that was over 30 years ago, and we've changed a lot in that time, and to include services to a broader range of people: women, children, family, men, trans, non-binary folks, and Connect is one of the things that we've grown into over the last couple of years.
So, besides Connect there's a Travel Lodge, there's the Amethyst House, Lily House, and then Too Good to Be Through.
And you've nailed it. And our downtown office too, where we offer counseling programs for women and children. I would say that all of those places are helping people in different kinds of ways. And with Connect, it's not something that the government funds. And that's what we're working towards, is to have some stable funding through municipal, provincial, or federal funding, so that we can continue to support people with their self-determination and the transitions they've decided to make in their lives.
While Connect is closed, AVI is one of the places that people have turned to for help.
Okay, so my name is Sarah Delaney Spindler. I'm the North Island Manager for AVI Health and Community Services. I manage the office here in Courtenay as well as in Campbell River. I oversee the teams. We have a harm reduction team, an education team, and a positive wellness team in each community. So we help people in a number of ways. The most basic and probably the most frequent is helping people with our harm reduction supplies. So that's everything to support safer substance use and to help stop the spread of certain diseases that are associated with drug use. So that's everything from clean syringes, clean pipes, naloxone and naloxone training, as well as education in safer sex. And yeah, I think that's probably the majority of it. And then as well, with our positive wellness program, we help those who are at risk of or living with HIV or Hep C. And that program really supports folks in connecting with the right medical care. If they need help accessing housing, we do a lot of housing applications, and really supporting folks along those different systems and helping them navigate those systems and making sure they're connected with all the right resources they'll need to be successful and live a healthy, safe life. So recently, with the closure of the Connect Center in Courtenay, we've seen a very large increase in the amount of people accessing services at AVI. I think in Courtenay, because we're a more rural community, there's not as much availability of services in our little town here. So when folks who are most vulnerable and marginalized in our community lose a service as important as the Connect Warming Center, it creates further pressure on all the services that are left, such as AVI. So yeah, we've seen a lot of people coming in looking for access to nutrition support. You know, we hand out snack bags, so we get a lot of demand for just people seeking their basic needs such as food. And then as well, an increase in harm reduction supplies that are going out from us and naloxone. Yeah, so it's been a big loss to the community not having Connect and having a safe space in the community for people to go to and just be.
So just a little bit about Connect is that it transitioned along the way too, because it started out as a 2-hour program, 2 days a week out of the library. Talking to them about that.
Okay, so I'm Jessica Humphreys. I'm the Adult Services Librarian here at the Courtenay Library, and I'm out here today due to strike action for our librarians because we've been without a union contract since December 2020, and unfortunately the employer hasn't met us in terms of where we need to be at for wages. So our librarians are one of the lowest paid librarians in the province, and with the high cost of living, limited housing, high inflation, and then on top of that, it's also just also safety issues in the branch too. I mean, libraries are one of the last public spaces, so we deal with very a diverse patron base, from youth to elderly, unhoused folks, folks dealing with mental health or substance use, and so that plays out in the library in a lot of different ways. And we're not always necessarily the most equipped people, right? So when I went to school for my master's in library science, that's not actually a part of your education, is working with folks with mental health or substance use, and so many people deal with those challenges but without the training or support from upper administration. Really interesting, there's a lot of regulars that we used to see before Connect was open, that since Connect has been opened have been accessing those services, and now with Connect being closed, we're sort of seeing a return of people. While we have some services like the washroom or warm space or computers, we don't have the services around food or any of the social service or housing or and some of the training that a good staff have at Connect. Prior to the shelter being open down there, it actually used to be a library. It was run in the library, so it used to meet twice a week in our multi-purpose room in the branch.
And then we just kept trying to find grant money and begging for our own building to operate in and to expand into beyond 2 hours. And so the city of Courtenay, with a lot of persuasion, gave us this building to use. And so just before the pandemic hit, we opened here in January of 2020. And we grew and morphed, and then we added the overnights in the extreme weather.
Yeah, there was a huge deal about when, I think it was one winter when there was like actual snow on the ground, that the Connect shelter was open and that there's more options than just, I think it was the Pidcock shelter at the time that, had some emergency masks, but there was still people that were not able to get a safe place to sleep at night.
That was in February of 21. We had an arrangement with BC Housing, but we were having a hard time getting staff that wanted to work overnight. Yeah, exactly. So, but this storm was coming, and the snowstorm, and I said, if we're gonna open, we have to do it now because there's gonna be all the snow. So I, with some volunteers, opened it up, and so I've spent lots of time here in those first few nights, and then again this Christmas when we had all this past Christmas when we had all the snow, I spent some time working at Connect, and I think you were with us a little bit. And I have to say that that's been some of the best time in my career is working at Connect and listening to the stories. And everybody has a story and has transitioned, had something bad, a transition that didn't turn out well, and now coming to Connect looking for a transition to something better. So it's been actually one of the biggest blessings of my life is to have spent time working at Connect. And so I'm really motivated and in fact feel really called to get this place open again.
We spoke with Dawn to Dawn about how they're doing their best to try to provide people with safe spaces.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit about what Dawn to Dawn does?
Certainly, yes. So Dawn to Dawn is a local non-profit focused primarily on doing everything that we can to end homelessness.
So how would you say the future of Dawn to Dawn looks like?
Yeah, so the plan with all of our community members who have been coming to us since the closing of the Connect is to do our best. We are attempting to continue our scattered housing model in helping people find housing within the local market.
So the scattered housing model, that is when you have people that are tenants and they receive some kind of money from Dawn to Dawn in order to pay their landlord.
We will do everything that we can to connect them with groups that can provide that funding.
So just, helping them get the resources that they need in order to get the funding that they deserve to keep their housing.
Yeah, well, housing, shelter is a fundamental need for all of us. It's not something that we can live without for any length of time and maintain our human dignity. We're also moving more towards having Rainbow House, a spot that people can come to that is our own facility that we run, that we can help people transition away from any unfortunate situation, and crucially to have their own space. So it's not something gifted or has to be fought for. It's just you're human and we would love to help support you if we can. We all of us need a helping hand sometimes. This is really just about making sure that people have a safe place to go to, whether that is physical, whether that is mental, or all of the above.
So having lost the Connect Center, I think it's, kind of difficult for people who are trying to help to find the people that they're trying to help, because there's not a central location where people are coming together and actually, seeking help. And it's been difficult on every single organization that's actually, reaching out to people and trying to get those who are, not just homeless, but just, people who are looking for any kind of assistance off the street. But thank you so much for all the work that you've done, and I'm looking forward to seeing Rainbow House and all the other wonderful projects that Dawn to Dawn is coming up with.
Well, thank you very much, Lexi. I appreciate this project that you're doing, getting the work out there and the word out there. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, you're welcome.
Just to try and put in perspective how many people are, connecting here, is in January we had this number 1,974 individual interactions with folks.
Really?
Whether that's finding housing, finding an education, working to have their children returned to them. At this time, we're not tied to a particular funding. We've raised money, we've got grant money. we can really make it what we want it to be, and maybe we've been able to make it be, exactly what some people need. A place to feel safe, supported, take a breath, get a meal, work on finding housing, access to healthcare. So we have been able to make it what it is without a lot of constraints and restrictions. And right now, as we work to find a way to reopen, we're thinking about, okay, what's the transition? What's the next thing? How do we do it? Is there anything we need to do differently? So it's a transition right now. So we look to reopen Connect somehow.